Hey, good evening. This might be one of the most important live streams that I end up doing in my career as a YouTuber because it might help to save a life out there someday. And that's really not an exaggeration. I thought about doing this one on my mental health channel, which, if you haven't been over there yet, it is the official Mental Health Matters channel. I put a link for that in the description below. But we're going to talk about as a therapist, most of my regular audience knows I'm a therapist and I've been a therapist for a very long time. Some of the dangers of social media and some of the things that I've observed as a therapist, especially since like 2007 when social media really began to get to rise and become trendy. It's good to see you, Wayne. How you doing tonight? Virginia Bushcrafter, thank you for joining. We're going to give people just a couple minutes to go through the ads and get notifications out. But in the meantime, let's talk about a couple different things. So we are approaching 5,000, and when I get to 5,000, I will do another one of my big giveaways. So you want to stay tuned for that. There'll be the closer I get to 5,000, there'll be more and more information coming out about that. So just kind of stay tuned. And if you're new to the channel, you're free to disagree with anything I say. I actually welcome that, either in chat or in comments down below. Just don't be racist or sexist. If you post something racist or sexist, I will delete it. So don't even waste your time writing it. I read every single comment, so it might take me a day or two to catch it, but I eventually do catch it. And I have had to delete a few comments in the last few weeks because people have been posting some pretty racist, horrible things on there, and that's not what this channel is about at all. That being said, if you want to throw some shade at me, or you disagree with me, or you think that I'm completely wrong, by all means, I welcome you to disagree. Please be kind to the moderators. They give their time freely. And I think that's it. That's our usual housekeeping stuff. I usually go for about 45 minutes or so, and then we call it a night. Lee Cold War Prepper, thank you for joining us. Becoming Dangerous, thank you for joining us. Appreciate you both. And if you enjoy the content tonight, or you get anything of value out of it tonight, please consider giving a thumbs up. So let's start off with talking about some of the brain chemistry things. So in the description down below, I linked a book that I am going to recommend called Dopamine Nation. And the author is, let me get that for you right now. I should have had that. I'm sorry. I actually saw the author speak live a few years ago and learned quite a bit. Like, some of this stuff I knew, but I learned quite a bit from watching her speak. Anna Lembke, and Dr. Anna Lembke, and I apologize if I got her last name wrong. So Dopamine Nation. So I want you, for those of you who are Gen X or Boomer, and even some of the millennials will remember back before the internet became as big as it is now, and social media, before social media was really a thing. To get your entertainment, you usually had to do a little bit of work for it, right? So what do I mean? What do I mean by this? And this is important because this is gonna lead into the rest of discussion that we're going to talk about tonight, and some of the dangerous things online on apps that you and your kids are probably already using, and social media platforms that you and your kids are probably already using. But Dopamine Nation. So the idea is, like, for those of us who are like Gen Xers, right? I grew up in a time when there was 5 channels on the television, and you didn't have a whole lot of programming choices. So most of our entertainment came from playing outside, right? And it was great. I had a wonderful childhood. Nobody could have even imagined what the world would have looked like in 2023. You couldn't have imagined. If you had told me about stuff like that we have now, I would have said that's weird. It doesn't make any sense, right? So if you had a favorite show, let's say you were a fan of the A-Team, or I had 2 older sisters, they liked Fantasy Island, and whatever your favorite show was, it came on once a week. And growing up, if you wanted to watch that, let's say like that, I liked 2 of my favorite shows, certainly was the A-Team, and this was probably a little bit above my age, but I loved it, was Tour of Duty. Some of you remember that one. It was only on for a couple of years, but it was about a platoon in Vietnam. And yeah, there was violence in it, but it wasn't graphic and gratuitous. So if you wanted to watch your favorite show, your parents would say, well, you got to get your chores done, you got to get your homework done, that kind of thing. And you would get it done, because if you missed it, it was going to be another week before you got to see it again, right? So that was your dopamine hit, and you had to work for it. And if you think back, even before, television, the dopamine hits, right? So what is dopamine? If you don't know what that is, I probably should back that up, because maybe everybody doesn't know what that is. Dopamine is one of your pleasure chemicals in your brain. It's a neurotransmitter that is really all about like feeling good and feeling happy. Okay. And so back before television, if you wanted to get your dopamine hit, you would probably get it by playing games with your family and things like that, right? And maybe reading if you could afford books, if it was, depending on how far back we want to go on this, or it was campfire stories way back, things like that. So you had to work for your dopamine. It didn't just come easily. And that's evolutionary wise, that's how our brain is hardwired, where we really are not meant to have dopamine on tap. Well, along comes the internet, and all of a sudden you can get, and I'll catch up with comments here in a minute. If you guys have comments, questions, or anything like that, go ahead and throw them in there. If it's a question, throw it in caps so I don't miss it, please. So then all along comes the internet, and all of a sudden, and I was in college when the internet first started to rear its head, and we didn't really know what it was, and people said, oh, this is going to be a fad and things like that, right? So talking about the mid 90s now. And then by 1998 or so, it was really starting, the internet was starting to take off, and you could go to websites and you can use search engines to look up just about anything you wanted, right? So now this was the beginning of dopamine on tap. You didn't have to work for your dopamine anymore. And pretty soon after that, people started getting addicted to the internet, okay? Because when the brain gets dopamine, it feels good, and then it wants more. It literally works like a drug in the brain. It literally works like a drug. And so your brain gets dopamine and it says, well, I want more. Well, the problem now is that you can get as much dopamine all day long as you want. Well, what is that doing to a young child's mind that's developing now? When evolutionary wise, our bodies aren't made, our brains weren't wired for that. Like we didn't evolve to have dopamine on tap. We don't know yet. But I'm going to give you some interesting information that we're observing anecdotally in the field of psychotherapy and mental health. I think if you're a parent, maybe you observe some of this stuff already, like where if you always can access that thing that supposedly makes you happy, always, without any kind of work, it's just a couple of keystrokes away, whether that be video games, cat videos, or pornography. If you can always access it whenever you want, then your distress tolerance, your ability to tolerate having to work hard for something, or failing at something, or being challenged by something, is probably going to go down real low. And we're seeing some anecdotal evidence of that. Okay. So in other words, you try something, and I'm trying to think of a good example here. So I did martial arts for a long time. And when you first try anything, whether it be martial arts or surfing or baseball or basketball, most people, unless you're a prodigy, most people don't pick that up right away. You have to work at it, right? So the first time a kid goes up to bat in Little League, he swings and he's probably going to strike out. He's probably going to strike out 100 times, but eventually he makes a connection with the ball. And then his brain says, oh, that feels really good, right? If you've ever hit a home run in baseball, there's like no feeling in the world that feels as good as when you make that connection with the ball and you hit it good. I can't even describe it to somebody who's never played baseball, but if you have, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And martial arts, same thing. Like when you first learn a technique, it doesn't come easy unless you're some kind of prodigy, right? Like maybe you've got Bruce Lee's genes or something, but most people don't. So we have to work at it. And then when you get it, you get that dopamine hit. So you work for it. But if you've got a low distress tolerance, what's likely to happen is you're going to get frustrated very, very easily because you're not having to work for that dopamine hit. Okay. So that's one of the things that I'm talking about. Check out that book, Dopamine Nation. Really, really interesting stuff. So Let me check before I go on here. Let me check chat here. I see a few other people have popped in. I appreciate you all. Thank you for giving me some of your Friday night. You all are awesome. Really appreciate everybody. Oh, I gotta scroll back here a little bit. Okay, there we go. Keith Kronk, appreciate you. Thank you for joining us. Lazarus Long, Rabbit Ears Television. Yeah, man. Those are the days. Those are the days. Burpee Yoga Uncle, it's good to see you, brother. You know what I'm talking about. Yeah, and playing outside, man, that was the best. And I get it that the world has changed. Make no mistake, the world is more dangerous. Like if I had kids, I probably would want them playing within eyesight of me because the world is different. But the world that I grew up in, it was awesome because we didn't have that, Like we went off, me and my group of friends, there were several other kids my age that grew up in the same neighborhood, and some of you know exactly the kind of experience I'm talking about. And we left the house in the morning. If you didn't, you were told get outside, and maybe you came home for lunch, but then you were back out, and you came home when the sun went down. And we were allowed to roam, and we had a great area where I grew up, where we had free reign of basically the neighborhood, and we had a lot of woods near us, which is why I have a love of woods to this day, of forest. I love just being out there and listening to the sounds and feeling the crunch of the leaves and watching the woodland creatures and stuff like that. To this day, that's like my favorite thing to do. And of course, yeah, we had video games. We had Atari, and then later we had Nintendo. But there was limits put on that stuff. Like we were not allowed to play that all day long. Just reading your comments here. Cold War Prepper says remembers a show called Combat starring Vic Morrow and Jason Hansen. Rawhide, yeah, good one there. Good one there. Oh yeah, Happy Days in Laverne and Shirley. Yeah, good stuff. Beverly Hillbillies, I love it. Wild Kingdom, good choices, y'all. Penny Pinching Prepper, it's good to see you too. Thank you for coming to join us tonight. Yeah, YouTube is definitely dopamine. Yeah, all of these are. That's why I wanted people to get that piece of this first. That's why I need people to understand the brain chemistry to this. Yeah, and that's it, Burpee Yoga Uncle. All right, good to see everybody. Thank you for joining me. So, all right, so let's talk about some of these platforms, some of these apps, and what I've seen as a therapist. So let's talk about Snapchat first. Now, I don't use Snapchat. Maybe you do, but the problem that I see with teenagers with Snapchat is they have this false sense of that what they do on there that it's private, and then like so if they say something or do something or they send a picture that it disappears after I don't know what it is 10 seconds or whatever. But the problem is like everybody knows this, you can still screenshot it by holding one phone over the other. Okay, and this is what's happening, and kids are especially in middle school and up are taking pictures of I need to be careful how I say this or else like the stream will get shut down. They're taking pictures of things that kids shouldn't be taking pictures of. We'll say it like that, and sending them to each other. And then it circulates. And once it's out there, it's out there. Like after this thing starts getting sent around to the other kids in text, and then they're sharing it somewhere else. And now it's on the internet. And these kids don't realize the consequences of that, right? And it's being used for horrible things on the dark web. Right. And I have to speak in code for some of this stuff just because of how YouTube is, just the algorithm. The AI will pick up like certain words. So I hope you understand what I'm talking about here. But this is wrecking kids' lives. This is wrecking kids' lives because there's when you're under 25 years old, your frontal lobe, which is right here. Okay. We're gonna get into some brain chemistry crap here again. Your frontal lobe isn't even developed yet. Now, what does the frontal lobe do? Well, your frontal, it's not fully developed anyways. Your frontal lobe is the part of your brain that decides, is this a good decision or a bad decision? That's one of the things that it says. And so that's not even fully developed yet. And they don't understand the consequences of their actions. But when pictures of them are circulating on the internet and now are permanently part of the dark web. We're talking about the kind of pictures that should never be taken. That's a pretty devastating thing. And then what's happening is sometimes nefarious people from the dark web are doing what's called I forget what the word is, blackmailing them with sexploitation or whatever. Help me out if in chat if you know what I'm talking about. They'll contact them. People from the dark web will contact them and say, hey, we have this picture of you and we're going to show your parents, or we're going to put it out for everybody to see on Facebook or whatever. And these kids are so distressed that they're hurting themselves, right? I can't say the S word because the AI algorithm will pick that one up and shut down my stream as well. So we're going to say self-harm. They're self-harming themselves, right? This is awful stuff. If I had a kid, and I have an adult stepchild, she's an adult, but if I had a young kid, I would not let them use Snapchat. And it is your responsibility. You say, well, how can I control it? Well, as a parent, you do have control. Okay. You do have control. You're paying for that phone. Demand to see that phone. If they don't want to let you see it, take it away for 3 weeks. Sorry. You're the adult. You have to be the adult. So look at their phone, look through their pictures, make sure they don't have things like Snapchat on there. And by the way, if you don't know those parents, there's a way at least on iPhone, I don't know Androids, there's a way in iPhone where you can hide pictures. There's like a hidden file. So you have to go like really dig in there and look at all files in their pictures, right? Ask until they're 18 or at least 16 or whatever you think if they're mature enough. Demand to see access to their email in there too, because people can hide their pictures in their email too. This is really dangerous stuff, folks. And your kids are at risk. Like, let's not pretend. I can tell you as a therapist, it's a lot of times the parents who don't think that their kids would be involved with that stuff are the ones that their kids are involved with that stuff. So the only way to know for sure is to be involved with your kid's phone. You got to be on it. You got to be checking it. You got to be demanding it. And that's your right as a parent. And it's a safety thing. You're not their friend. Stop trying to be their best friend. You're there to be a parent. You're there to protect them. You're there to guide them and prepare them for adulthood. Okay. You can be their friend when they're an adult, and it works much better that way. Trust me as a therapist. So that's Snapchat. The other couple things to be aware of with Snapchat is that there's ways that kids are selling drugs through Snapchat, through emojis for code. So if you see that a lot of emojis are being used on your kids' communications and their texts as well, and also their DMs through like Instagram and Twitter and Facebook, things like that, you need to be looking through this stuff, folks. If you see a lot of emojis, get online and Google what do these emojis mean. Okay. Because I can't even tell you. I don't even know all of them. But like as an example, sometimes just one example, sometimes an emoji of a tree is code for marijuana. Okay. Or weed or however you want to call it, right? All right, let's go back to chat here and then I'll go on to my next little mini rant here. I hope y'all are doing all right. I know this is harsh stuff to hear. I get it. And I debated about not doing this, but ultimately I feel like parents need to hear this stuff and they need to know. Yeah, we're going to talk about that one right there, Burpee Yoga Uncle. Yep. Where do you think they're getting it? Yep. Bacon, it's so good to see you, brother. Hope you're doing better. I think you were ill, right? I hope you're feeling better. Darkness ensues. Just scanning your comments here, folks. Yeah, Green Acres. Yeah, it's a good one. So, Kitty, I'm not familiar with that. Can you explain what that is? A jitterbug phone? Maccabees, good to see you. Appreciate everybody. Hope you're having a good Friday. If you're getting anything of value tonight, please consider giving me a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing. Don't forget to check the links for some good resources in there down below, including a link to the book Dopamine Nation and the documentary Fake Famous, which is another one. If you haven't seen the two documentaries that I recommend, I link one of them below, is called Fake Famous, which really, talks about like the whole influencer thing and different like people's obsession with fame, especially young people's obsession with getting famous and like, what they'll do to get famous. Watch that one out. Watch that one. It's called Fake Famous. And then The Social Dilemma, I believe, is on Netflix. I'm sorry I didn't have time to fact check that before I went live. Also very good. The Social Dilemma has interviews with people like whistleblowers from these social media companies, basically explaining about how addictive these programs are, these social media platforms are, and these apps are. Okay, so that one's called The Social Dilemma, and I think it's on Netflix. Please watch both of those, especially if you're a parent. Please watch both of those. All right, let's talk about Instagram next. So Instagram has been, you may remember the news stories on this. Unfortunately, the media seems to have dropped this story, but Instagram, they did some tests on it where people were creating profiles of teenage girls and were immediately being shown and suggested things about eating disorders and how to be, super thin and body image things and body image type content. Excuse me one second. Sorry. I think ragweed's starting to bloom here. There is a huge problem with teenagers, especially, but also middle schoolers are. I'm seeing it with middle schoolers, and other therapists are seeing this with middle schoolers too, with kids developing eating disorders at an alarming rate. And you think about like the filters on Instagram, and I can go on there. So just so you know, I am in my 50s, and I have some wonderful lighting here that is actually making me look a little bit younger than that. But I swear to you, my skin is not as smooth as it might look on the camera, and you can do amazing things with filters on Instagram. And so, people are seeing this and they get this distorted view of what quote unquote beauty looks like. And it's been really, really bad for teenage girls, really bad. But boys too. Like we're seeing a huge in mental health. We're seeing a rising trend in teenage boys developing eating disorders as well. This is very scary stuff. I will tell you that in my experience as a therapist, eating disorders are extremely difficult to treat and they're extremely dangerous. You can develop some serious problems, and it can even lead to fatalities. And the whole body dysmorphic thing can become a lifelong struggle for people. Pay attention to what your kids are doing. Ask them to show you what they're scrolling right now. Look at their stuff. Ask them to open up their feed. And if they don't cooperate, you're paying for that phone, take it away. You're the adult, you make the rules. That's the bottom line here. This is the only way it gets fixed. The kids aren't going to fix this. The adults have to fix this. That's your job. Okay. All the other kids are using Instagram and TikTok and things like that. Okay, so if you really insist that your kid needs to use that stuff, then at least be present in what they're doing and check it out and watch what they're doing. Demand that at any given second you can see the screen. Okay, because remember what I said about that frontal lobe a little while ago. It's not there yet, so you have to be their frontal lobe. That's your job. Okay, I don't care if you want to be the cool parent. You can be the cool parent when they become an adult. I wouldn't be ranting like this if it wasn't really serious. There's a huge, huge rise in adolescent. I have to think about how I'm wording this because the AI will think that I'm doing something bad. There's a huge rise in adolescent self-harm, right? The numbers spike, right? So you guys know what a hockey stick spike is. If I talk about that in statistics, the numbers spike after 2007. Guess what happened in 2007? That's when social media started to really become super popular, right? So anecdotal, yeah, but it correlates. And if you ask people in the field, we're all going to tell you the same thing. We think it's directly related to social media. If you love your kids and you want to be their friend, love them even more than that and protect them from themselves and the bad stuff that's out there. You have to love them that much more, that you're willing to be the bad guy sometimes and say, you can't go there. I don't want you doing those things. And if you do, you're going to lose your phone. Okay. I'm sorry. I wish there was easier answers. I really do. Let me check your chat again. So that's Instagram. And also you'll see the emoji use of, I'm looking at my notes when you see me looking down like that. Also, you will see the emoji use of codes for drugs and things like that on Instagram. Usually in the DMs is where you're probably going to see that. So you need to know if you've seen a lot of that kind of emoji stuff going on in your kids' DMs, get online and search what it is. All right, let's go back. Let's check your chat here again. I didn't hear about that, Lee. I'm sorry to hear that. Hey, you know what? Since you said that, that's another interesting thing, right? So for those of us who are adults who are on social media, like I'm making a choice to be here. I'm giving up some anonymity. I'm putting myself at risk in some extent. I'm an adult. I know the consequences of that, and there's a lot of I've gotten creepy messages. I'll just say that. Maybe some of you have too. If you're a content creator, I've gotten creepy messages. If you're letting your kids be a social media influencer and you're not monitoring what's happening, they're getting creepy messages too. You better believe it. Don't kid yourself. All right. So if a fat, bald, 50-plus-year-old is getting creepy messages, your kids are getting creepy messages. Guarantee it. Pay attention, folks. Okay, so Kitty Steele says the Jitterbug phone. It can only call preset numbers that I put in there. It's basically a cheap cell phone in the shape of a ladybug. Awesome. I love that, Kitty. Great job. Cool. I love it. Good job. See if I missed anything else here. Just checking your chat, y'all. Yeah, and when they're adults, that frontal lobe is kind of developing at that point. Yeah, they're still going to make mistakes. I sure did when I was, 18 to 25. I've made plenty of mistakes, a lot of mistakes. But you're at least an adult. You're kind of a little bit more responsible. You kind of have a little bit idea of if I do this, there's consequences. Bad things can happen. God is great. So good to see you, brother. Hope you're doing well. How's Japan these days? Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, Maccabee. It's like you're gonna get weird, creepy stuff. Some of it's like sexual, some of it's threatening. Like I told you all at the beginning of the stream, I've had people post like really racist stuff, not against me, against Black people. It's just the internet. People think they're anonymous on their keyboard, and they'll say horrible, horrible things. Things that they would never say to a person in their face. Bacon. I appreciate that. You know what it is? It's the beautiful lighting. It makes me look young. All right. Yeah, it's hot here too, y'all. I have to literally like pick the day of the week when the temperature is at its lowest so that I can mow the darn lawn. Yep. So yeah, that's what we're talking about. So if you've got teenagers on that are doing like the influencing thing, they got stalkers, folks. I'm sorry. It's your job to protect them. Yeah, that's a good point there, Lazarus. Appreciate it. Yeah, and Lee, I'm going to leave your comment up here for a minute while I go on to the next part. So the next one I was going to talk about, of course, is the last one I'm going to talk about tonight is TikTok. Now, I don't use TikTok either. I do use Instagram. I know I was talking about Instagram before. I do use Instagram. I don't use Snapchat and I don't use TikTok. And what's funny is, if you look in the description down below, I give you some of the brands, the sponsors that I work with. Some of them have asked me, can you please be on TikTok too? And I've said, no, I really have no interest in being on TikTok. So there's a couple things you need to know about TikTok. First of all, and now they're doing, if you notice, if you watch the news, they're doing like a PR campaign and like they're showing this farmer lady who says, oh, I got my business started. TikTok is so great. And then they showed a disabled guy who they were able to raise money for through TikTok. And they're saying, oh, TikTok is so great. Look at what they did. Okay. So yeah, so some good things always are going to happen and some bad things. So here's what you need to know about TikTok. TikTok that is a Chinese platform, and I'm not knocking it for that reason, but the platform in China is very different than the platform in the United States. The platform in China, sorry, I hit my mic. Platform in China, they promote and suggest videos to kids that teach them math skills and physics skills and how to speak a different language and things like that. TikTok in the United States promotes things to children that is very dangerous activities. And I'm going to give you some concrete examples here before we're finished. If I had a small child, I would not let them use TikTok. And as a therapist, I can tell you that I've dealt with a lot of kids who've been exposed to a lot of damage because of TikTok. Okay. If there's any social media platform that should be, and you all know, if you've been watching me a long time, I am not a fan of censorship and I am not a fan of regulation of private companies. But if there's ever one that needed it, it's TikTok. And whether or not you liked Donald Trump, I don't care. I don't get into politics too much here. One thing that he was really on the ball about was the pressure that he was trying to put on TikTok to either sell the company or change how they're doing things. TikTok is dangerous for your kids, and I'm going to give you some concrete examples. You all ready for this? So if you don't know what a TikTok challenge is, you're about to get educated, and you should know this. It's very important, especially if you're a parent. So TikTok challenges, there's some that are innocent and they're fun, like dance videos and things like that. I wanted to show you one. I might still be able to do this. All right. So the first one, if you follow me on Instagram, I kind of exposed this one. It's called the egg cracking challenge. And the idea is they're challenging people to crack an egg over their child's head. And in the videos, the children are clearly not aware or consensual to this. Now, if you want to do a fun video where like you and your boyfriend or girlfriend are cracking eggs over your head, that's funny. I get it. Like I will watch those videos and they're funny. But cracking an egg over a child's head is not funny. And those people, some people from my audience know me in real life. I have a very dark sense of humor. I laugh at stuff that other people would be like, dude, that's not funny. The egg cracking challenge, cracking an egg over your kid's head is not funny. It's cruel. Okay. It's cruel. I'm not going to go so far as to call it child abuse, but it's cruel. And if you watch these videos, and I think I'm going to try to show you that before we finish out, I'm going to try to show it to you. You can see like these kids are just so innocent and they're like, they're happy because they're spending time with their loved one, their parent. And then the parent cracks an egg over their head and they're just like looking at them like, why would you do that to me? It's cruel. It's not funny. And I have a dark sense of humor. It's still not funny. That's the egg cracking challenge. The blackout challenge. This one went around a little while ago that there's certain ways where you can literally make yourself or make somebody else black out by deliberately restricting oxygen to induce unconsciousness. This is a very dangerous game. Obviously your brain needs oxygen, right? And this was a thing that went viral, and kids want to be famous and they want that like or that repost or the comment, because that's how the social medias give you your dopamine hit. If you give me a like on this video right now, I get a little dopamine hit. If you give me a comment, I get a little dopamine hit. And that's what they're going. And it's very, very addictive. So we all want more dopamine. You can't help but want more dopamine. It's human nature to want more dopamine. And these platforms are creating ways for kids to like get it, but at the expense of very dangerous activities. So that's the blackout challenge. The milk crate challenge, you might have seen this one, where kids are being encouraged to build a staircase full of milk crates as high as they possibly can and try to climb it. And obviously, the higher it goes, the more unbalanced it becomes, and kids are ending up with broken legs and spinal injuries. Fun, right? The tooth filing challenge, and they'll do this just to get those likes. The tooth filing challenge, or sometimes it was called the vampire challenge. Kids are filing their teeth because TikTok suggested videos to them saying like, this is how you can get more likes. And they're filing their teeth to be sharper. Obviously, dental work is very expensive if you've ever had dental work done. Do not let your children file their teeth. This is a no-brainer, folks. Pay attention to what your kids are watching. The NyQuil challenge and the Benadryl challenge are very similar. It's encouraging children to consume massive amounts of NyQuil and Benadryl to induce hallucinations. Your liver can only handle so much of that medicine. And obviously, I don't think I need to tell people that hallucinations can be dangerous too, but your liver can only handle so much. So it's very, very risky thing. The Gorilla Glue challenge. People are putting Gorilla Glue, a very strong adhesive, if you don't know what it is, on their hair or on their body or like, their skin to skin. And it does damage that, is going to like rip the skin, basically. The Corn Cob challenge. People were eating corn off of a power drill. Do you sometimes, when you hear this stuff, don't you think, like, do you wonder, like, if our population is just losing IQ points? I mean, I know as a teenager, I did some risky stuff. I know. I'm embarrassed and ashamed of some of the stuff I did. I did some risky stuff. I did some stuff that was downright dangerous. But now it's just like, it's so much, it's out there. It is, your kids are more exposed to it so much more. Even like my kid's a good kid. Yeah, I get it. Your good kids are being exposed to this too. And they also want that dopamine hit. I'm skipping a few here. The ice cream licking challenge. This one's just gross. Your kids are being encouraged to go into a grocery store and film themselves licking some ice cream from a tub, putting the cover back on and putting it back on the shelf. That's gross. The bird box challenge. They're blindfolding themselves and then having them do tasks such as go upstairs or downstairs or walk across a lane of traffic. The door kicking challenge. This one's real great. The door kicking challenge. Kids are being encouraged to go kick in a stranger's door. I live in the South, folks. That's a really bad idea. Okay, let's just leave it at that. It's a really bad idea. That's not going to end well for somebody. The fire challenge. Participants are being encouraged to set themselves on fire and then extinguish it on camera. The penny challenge. You hear about this one? Kids are being encouraged to partially unplug their phone charger and put a penny on it and then touch the penny. The skull breaker challenge. There's a good one. The skull breaker challenge is you trick a friend into jumping as high as they can, and then you sweep their legs out before they land. The Kylie Jenner lips challenge. Remember this one, folks? This was the one where kids were using vacuums and glasses to puff out their lips. It actually can cause serious bruising and injury. I don't remember the next one, but it was that one where there was like the kids were being instructed to watch videos which told them to do terrible things like flip off their parents, cut their own hair, super glue their brother to a chair, horrible things like that. I don't remember the name of that one. The Tide Pod challenge. I think everybody remembers that one. Kids were being encouraged by TikTok, which was suggesting these videos to them to eat Tide Pods. Very toxic, very dangerous. The break stuff, steal stuff challenge. Kids are being encouraged to break stuff at their school or steal stuff from their school. The punch my teacher challenge. Guess what that one's about? The snort a condom challenge. Kids were snorting condoms up their nose and then pulling it out of their mouth. Come on, kids. Like, come on. You got to be smarter than that. Don't snort a condom. Like, come on. It is not worth the dopamine hit. I got a challenge for you. How about delete TikTok from your kid's phone? That's my challenge. That's the quit TikTok challenge. All right. This is a problem. This is a problem, folks. If you're a parent, you got to get this because you're the only one that can stop it. Obviously, nobody is stopping TikTok from suggesting these videos to your kid. Okay. We had our chance. We didn't do it. So now it's your turn. You got to do it. You got to be that parent that says, I don't want you on TikTok. You're not allowed to use that app. And if you are going to allow them, then at minimum, you need to be really on them, paying attention. I want to see what you're watching at any time I ask you, hand over the phone. No delay, no switching screens. As soon if I say, give me the phone, you got to hand over the phone. And if they don't, you're in charge. You pay that bill, take that phone away. Okay. The only one who can save your children is you. All I'm doing is relaying the information. Okay. I hope you get it. I hope you get it. All right, folks, if you got anything of value to this, please drop a like. I'm going to go ahead and check comments one more time. Then we're going to wrap this one up. It's time to start our weekend. I know Bacon's going to probably be going live later on tonight. You definitely want to make sure you follow Bacon. Hey, Daniela Joy, and I know you had some problem. I'm not going to get into your stuff. You can talk about it if you want to, but I know you had some problems with Instagram. Things, just stuff that was going on over there. Yeah, me too, brother. Me too. Penny Pincher Prepper says he's 46 and still make mistakes. I do too. I make 4 mistakes before I make it into work every day. Yeah, that's a good quote right there, Burpee Yoga Uncle. So I can't comment on that, but I can tell you that I have friends. Now I'm going to sound like a certain prepper with 1 million subscribers. I have friends that work for 3-letter agencies. I actually do. And they have told me that they would not ever recommend that anybody use TikTok. And that's all I'm going to say. Oh, Max. So I saw that. Thank you very much. I did see your message, and I have that movie in my watch list. I've tried to respond to you. For some reason, I'm having a problem with Messenger. It's not letting me respond to you, but I did see that. Thank you. Almost all of TikTok that you've seen on Instagram is some sort of bullying. Yeah. Bacon says the egg. Yeah, I am going to show you that video. You know what? I'm going to get it. The egg cracking challenge is pocketbook abuse. The eggs are expensive. Let me get it for you. Bear with me just a second. This is going to take me a second to pull it up. No, maybe not. Let's see if it cooperates with me. We are all over dopamine saturated. Yep, that's a problem. Yeah. So you know what? I should. Yeah. That I'll end that. I'll end the stream tonight with how do we fix this personally? If you've got a dopamine addiction, how do we fix? That's what I'll end this with. Yeah, that's basically what a TikTok challenge is. Let's do the dumbest thing we can possibly do just to get dopamine. Some of them are funny, like like kids will do like coordinated dances and stuff like that. Some of them are little pranks and they're funny. I'm not trying to say like everything on there is bad. Obviously, that's not true, but there is a lot of bad stuff. And those things, here's the big thing. I had to really carefully screen my language tonight because if the AI on YouTube picks up on certain words and it thinks that I'm suggesting certain things, it will kill the stream. Sorry. So YouTube at least makes an effort to not allow dangerous content to get out there. They're not perfect at it, obviously, but they make an effort. TikTok actively promotes this stuff. I agree with this comment right here wholeheartedly. Yeah, it's that's a good question. Is the average IQ slipping? And I don't think, just to be clear, I'm not saying like don't raise your kids. If you're raising kids right now, they do have to know technology. This is the world they live in, but they have to know responsible use of technology. Okay. I would not recommend to any parent to like keep your kids away from technology 100% because they're going to be left behind in the world that's coming. They have to know how to use it, but they also have to know how to use it responsibly. Yeah, so there's good exercise challenges and stuff like that. I didn't hear of that one until you just said that. Penny Pritchard Prepper. You couldn't pay me money to do that, you know. Washburn Billy, sounds like. Yeah, basically that's it right there. That's it. And they're using their addiction. They're using their addiction to dopamine and their relentless thirst to be famous to get them to hurt themselves. Me too, Daniela. Me too. Yep. Totally understand that. Totally understand that. Yep. And that's probably what I would do, to be honest with you, if I had kids. Yeah, Instagram's very addictive. I find myself scrolling and scrolling, and I know that that's bad for my brain. We're going to talk about that at the end. Hey, Washburn Billy, welcome to the channel. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Yeah, you're that's right too. I noticed that your content burns out really fast on Instagram. Let me put that back up. Sorry. On Instagram, another thing that I noticed because I am active over there is that if I put my how do I say this? My generated content, that original content that I created out there, it does not get shown to people. Not even my regular followers on Instagram will say I never saw that. If I promote a viral video, thousands and thousands of views, right? And I get it, like that's how viral videos work. I'm not stupid, I get it. But so it's almost like it encourages that stuff to like the only so here's what I'm trying to say. I couldn't put my words together. It almost feels like the only way to grow on Instagram is to follow the trend instead of being able to promote some original content. Okay. So not that it's all about growing your audience, but in order to do this and be able to make a living out of this, which is ultimately what I would like to be able to do, I've got to be able to grow too. So it is part of the putting out content, but I also have to be able to grow too. So it's frustrating because I don't want to reshare other people's content, but it seems like that's the only way I can get views on my stuff on Instagram. Hope that makes sense. If you're on Instagram, you probably know what I'm talking about. All right, let me show you this video that I was talking about. So this is the latest hang on. Challenge, the egg cracking I got challenge. You. And the idea is, so this is the latest TikTok challenge, the egg cracking challenge. And the idea is you crack an egg over your child's head and film it for the internet's entertainment. Now, some people are saying this is child abuse. I wouldn't go so far as to call it child abuse, but it is a little bit of exploitation. Now, if you want to use your kids in your video, that's fine, but try to find something that doesn't humiliate them. I just find this to be something that later on in life, your children are going to remember this and they're going to ask you, why did you do this? Why did you embarrass me and humiliate me on the internet? And is it going to have like lasting scars? No, probably not. Like, look at how happy this little kid is. Why not? Now watch the little kid's face. Making something fun with your child, and if you want to involve your kids in your TikTok, I really don't care. But I don't know. It's just something disturbing about. Now that was hard. She like nailed her. Let me know in the comments. Am I wrong? So this is the latest TikTok. What do you all think of that? Do you think your kids should be watching that? Honestly, does that make you angry? What am I going to say? I guess there's job security for me as a therapist, but I don't want that. I want your kids to grow up healthy and happy. I don't want your kids coming to me with eating disorders. I don't want your kids coming to me because social media made them want to self-harm. I want your kids to be happy. And I can't control what happens at your house. You have to control that. That's your job. Yeah. So I'm reading your comments. So one good thing that I did read this week, and then I'm gonna end with a positive. I promise. I don't like to leave people on a Friday night with despair. We're supposed to enjoy our weekends. Some states are starting to pass legislation that if you used your kids in a video like that and you made money off of it, they can sue you. Either have to put money aside for them, or they can sue you and they become an adult. Because you know what? Some of these kids are going to want to sue their parents. Those kids in that video I showed you are not consensual. You can tell by the look on their face. And they're going to be like, why did you humiliate me to the internet? For likes? For likes? That's why you did that? You embarrassed me on the internet because you thought it was funny and to get likes, because you wanted to be famous. You need to think about this stuff and like what your kids the questions your kids are going to be asking when they're old enough to ask those questions. All right, let's end with something positive here, folks. And to be clear, Maccabeus, I don't necessarily have a problem with people using their kids in their videos. Just I think it should be kind of wholesome. You shouldn't be cracking an egg on their head, right? So if you wanted to do like a fun little dance video with them or something like that, or like what you could have done there is you could have turned that around and say, crack an egg on mommy's head. And that would have been funny, and maybe it wouldn't have gotten 12 million views, but it would have gotten a lot of views because it would have been funny, right? There's a way to do this if you want to do that. And I know I've seen some of the homesteading families that I follow they'll show videos of them teaching how to like care for the chickens and how to take care of the garden. That's awesome. That's really cool. That's really inspiring, especially for other homesteading families out there that are wanting to get their kids involved. So there's a way to do it in a good way. I'm not opposed to that. All right, let's end with a positive here, folks. So if you, like the rest of the world, is struggling with a little bit of a dopamine addiction, there is a way to deal with this. It's called a dopamine detox. And the key to a dopamine... Oh, okay. I didn't know what you meant, Maccabeus. Sorry. So it's called a dopamine detox. And a dopamine detox, what it is basically is you minimize your exposure to social media, even to television, for a period of time to kind of get your brain to calm down from that stuff. You get outside more, you get sunshine, you put your feet in the grass and your toes on the sand, and you really try to disconnect from nature. And a lot of people will do this a couple times a year. They'll just like go out camping or go out to a cabin or on a fishing trip or hunting trip, and they'll just try to really minimize the use of their phone during that period. Now, maybe because of your work, you have to check in with emails or something like that. But if you're doing a dopamine detox, you absolutely stay off social media during that time period, because social media is like the worst offender when it comes to like giving you that like instant dopamine on tap hit that your brain is just going to crave more and more and more of. I would say, not from a physical addiction standpoint, but from a brain chemical addiction standpoint, social media is probably more addictive than most drugs out there. Okay. Because it's instantaneous, it's almost free, and it's just a couple clicks away. So if you like your cat videos, if you like your dance videos, if you like to watch clown porn, whatever your thing is, there's nothing stopping you from doing that. And it might have seemed like a good thing, but maybe you weren't supposed to have it all the time. Maybe humans weren't wired that way. Okay. So just think about that. Not trying to judge anybody. Obviously, I'm on social media myself. I disclosed to you earlier that I'm guilty of the Instagram scrolling, but I do try to disconnect sometimes. I do like to go out in the woods. I do like to, go out and experience nature. Unfortunately for me and some other people in chat, I grew up without this stuff, so I know what it was like before then. And kids growing up now don't know what that is. And that makes it even harder for them, right? So another reason why you have to be the adult. If you got anything of value out of this, please consider giving me a thumbs up. Please consider subscribing if you're brand new. I really appreciate everybody. And thank you, everybody in chat. Great comments tonight. Really, if you're watching this on replay, make sure you turn the chat on. Have a great weekend. Hug your loved ones. Please get outside. Please be safe. And please monitor your kids and what they're doing on the internet. Keep planting your seeds. Keep stacking your silver. This is Prepping with Sarge.